Opportunity Knocks is a 1990 comedy starring Dana Carvey as Eddie Farrell, a con artist who, along with his partner Lou, stumbles upon an empty house and decides to pose as a house sitter. It features like the dad from... He's always like somebody's father, this guy. And he ends up being like the guy who owns the house's dad. This guy goes on vacation. This guy, Dan, he's like out in like India for 3 months or whatever. And he has a house sitter, but his house sitter can't make it.
You got that his house sitter is like his best friend. And they're like major business people too.
Big money. You know, you see his house, he's got like a pinball machine, and he has like a pool table, and a 1990s, 1980s, like high class stuff. So these two con artists, one of them, Dana Carvey, and his buddy, they decided they're going to hang out at the place. And Dana Carvey decides to take on the identity of the person who's supposed to be house sitting, who had to cancel at the last minute. I think it's kind of weird. When he calls sooner, like it says on the entry machine, "I'm not here." When you say, "Oh, ish, dude, I was hoping to catch you." And then call his parents, maybe, and say, "Oh, hey, Mr. and Mrs. blah, 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 I'm not going to be there."
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
But they have to have a reason to make this. It's a silly premise to make the movie happen. That's the whole thing, is suspend disbelief. This is suspending disbelief that people would be this stupid. And that was one of the things that got me in the first act of the movie. All the stuff that he should have been caught on, he wasn't getting caught on, but I was getting anxiety for him because I don't want him to get caught.
Yeah.
And it's all this stupid stuff until you realize that David's father is an idiot. Once I realized he's an idiot, all my anxieties went away and I enjoyed the movie.
Oh, David's parents. Oh, I was thinking of you as Milt and Mona rather than Mona and Milt. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's all dumb stuff that anybody who is intelligent would have picked up, that maybe this isn't who he thinks he is or who he says he is. But no, at no point did these people ever put one and one together. He has to explain it to him, and basically spoon-feeded it to him that he is not who they said he was. They the whole time they're like, "Wow, I didn't expect you to be this way. From what we were told about you, we didn't expect you to be like this. When we were told about you, we didn't expect this." That must have been said like a dozen times in the movie, that they didn't expect this out of you from what I got told about you. Well, one of them you say, "Well, you know what? This guy's like nothing like the guy that David told us about."
Exactly. Now, okay, so first off, you sent me a text this morning. What did that text say?
Oh, I'm like watching the scene and he pulls out his George Bush impersonation. I'm like, come on.
Okay, so
this is why you don't mention who's the president of the United States, and you don't mention the price of anything. Those are the two rules in order to make a movie more timeless.
Exactly. So, but what did you text me? What did you say in the text?
Dana Carvey sucks.
Okay, it is 2024. This guy has not had a significant role in anything for like 30 years, and it takes you to 2024 to realize that he sucks.
Because at the time he's making all these jokes to fit into the time. I mean, the George Bush impersonation was his George Bush impersonation is so good. George Bush asked him to come to the White House to do it for him in person. So he does have a good George Bush impersonation. I'm not taking that away from him. He's very good at doing characters. But if you've ever seen that stupid movie where he's pretending to be a turtle, The Master of Disguise, if you've ever seen that train wreck of a film, you know that when he has full control over something, it goes to shit. He needs a Michael Myers, but maybe the serial killer too, but I mean the comedian. He needs a Michael Myers to write the character for him.
I didn't realize you said that. If you think of So I Married an Axe Murderer, it is Michael Myers being hunted by someone like Michael Myers.
Michael Myers is hunting himself. Maybe that was more of a commentary on his inner struggles.
But the thing is, Dana Carvey is Dana Carvey. He's typecasted himself because he can't do anything more than the comedy routine that he has. You're not going to see him in anything serious, whereas people like Adam Sandler has been in serious stuff and made it work. He can't, because we
talked about this last week where we were saying, like, and in fact I looked it up online, and he and Dana Carvey had never done a non-comedic role.
Yeah, it's just the problem is, if you look at him, you're not going to see Dana Carvey being Superman. Dana Carvey can be nothing more than a silly weenie.
He does and then like he does great impersonations. He does these great voices. When I was a teenager, I had to like realize that he was Garth from Wayne's World. Like to me, I thought they were two different people. That's how good he is at this. And it's maybe because he's never took on a dramatic role, which means maybe he never took acting as serious. Maybe I don't know. I'm not trying to knock the guy if he ever hears this. For years I was a huge fan. I have the best of Dana Carvey's SNL DVD. You know, I used to love his show when he did the Dana Carvey show. I thought that was the best. When ABC we got all pissed off over that one skit where he was making fun of Bill Clinton. That upset me because I'm like, I really like this show because like NBC, or I was on EBC and the Connecticut ABC station refused to air it after that Bill Clinton sketch, but the ABC out of New York still aired it. So all I had to do was just change my VCR from recording channel 8 to recording channel 7, and I still caught him on tape because I think it was on at the same time as another show that I watched. Which show did I like the show, but not enough to pick it over another program.
Do you remember in Zoolander where they talk about the Slashy Award, and Fabio wins the Slashy Award, and he says that something about he's happy to get the award for male model / actor, or no, you see me as a male model / actor and not the other way around. Dana Carvey is the epitome of the Slashy Award. He is a comedian / actor. You see him as a comedian before being an actor. And that's the thing. I don't think he probably had really acting lessons. I think that because he's a comedian, he rolled into Saturday Night Live and then just kind of, I want to say, mass produces them out into actor positions.
Yeah, but there's people like Will Ferrell has done dramatic roles. And Adam Sandler, he did dramatic roles. These are people, I mean, Mike Myers has done some dramatic roles. Now, some of these guys have done dramatic roles better than others, but it's still like, if you want to be a dramatic actor, you have to like study it more. It's actually harder to be a comedian in a lot of respects, but also, to emote and make people feel for you. You're crying, and so are the people watching the movie are crying. It's if Jim Carrey could do that, if he was given a role where that powerful, I think he could pull it off. And I think maybe Adam Sandler could too. So maybe what it is these other guys are just not good actors.
Now, I'm going to say something interesting here that's going to be the flip side of what I was talking about, that comedian / actor. And that's Robert Loggia, who is that guy you were talking about, who is the father of a lot of people that I agree. He's the person that you see in a movie go, oh, I know that guy, but I don't know his name. I don't know anything really about him other than I keep seeing these movies. He is a great example of an actor / comedian. He will make you giggle. He's not going to make you laugh out loud, but he knows how to interject comedy in a light way, but he's darn good at the role that he does.
Oh yeah, he's somebody I've seen him in countless stuff. I'm sure there's directors who keep him in the Rolodex for when they need somebody and they can't find anybody else. They just know, well, I could definitely call him and he can do it. I did enjoy the movie once it got going. The love story, it was very predictable. Yeah. Which is probably my biggest complaint about it. Like everything that I thought was going to happen in the movie. What I didn't think was going to happen, what I thought was going to happen that didn't happen. I thought he was going to come home. He just got engaged to the doctor, to Anne. Is that her name? Dr. Ann. So him and Ann just got engaged, and he comes back to the house, and he's telling Louis that he wants to tell him the good news. I expected the owner of the house to be there.
Gotcha.
Because that's how I would have wrote it, where all of a sudden he comes there and there's David, like, what the bleep is going on here? I come home and my house is a mess, and who the hell are you? And blah, blah, blah. Where's my car? But that didn't happen. It happened where it was the gangsters because they owed money. Yeah, it's a whole thing where they're motivated to rob these people because they owe these gangsters all this money that got lost. He ends up really liking the people, so he can't screw them over. Yeah, and then he finds a way of screwing over the gangster and getting him arrested at the end. I know I'm giving it away, but who cares? It's all predictable. You're gonna be watching.
Awesome actor who's also kind of typecasted himself too.
Yeah, he's the principal from Back to the Future.
The boss guy on Top Gun. So here's actually, now that you bring him up, there's a big problem I have with this movie. And it's in one of the best scenes, which is where they steal the car. The cell phone rings in the car. Now the car is the car of the guy who's trying to collect the money that they owe this gangster guy.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously the person that's collecting the money works for the gangster guy, and they know that because they borrowed the money from the gangster guy. The cell phone in the car rings and he picks it up. And I love that, how he does it. That's like one of the most memorable parts of the movie, the you do not talk when I talk part. He asks who it is, and the guy says, it's Sal Nichols. And they're like, hang up now. How could you not know it was him? For a couple reasons. It's his car. It's clearly his car because the guy is not going to be loaned out. He's not going to be, the boss is like, okay, use your own car. They're going to know his voice because they dealt business with him to get that money.
They needed to have a reason for the story.
Exactly.
And that was the reason. But what it ends up doing is that the second act is the best act in the movie because the first act is rushed and the third act is rushed. Because that was probably my biggest, I think the problem I really had with the first act is how everything was just like it's moving a little too fast. And it's like, and some of the stuff, like I said, he kept putting himself in situations where how are these people falling for this?
Yeah.
He's a horrible liar. All the stuff I would think of if I was in that situation, he ain't thinking of any of it.
What did he say? Milton blowers are number one. I mean, that obviously, just by the reaction of the guy who is talking in Japanese, he wasn't happy and celebrating.
And then he's like, he flips him off, and he's like, yeah. That whole thing was so dumb with the Japanese guy. That was like, and now I see why you made the comparisons to our movie last week of Heartbreakers, where they had the scene where she was in the restaurant and the Russian guy was talking to her, and then the whole thing where they end up scamming them and they become successful in the scam, but then true love wins out. And
yeah, and I mean, it's two people that are related. And then this one, even though they're not family, they're friends, they're related.
The one guy with the gray hair and the black eyebrows, his uncle, I think actually was his uncle, so they are related there, but yeah.
I think to sum up this movie the best way is they knew going out the door, this isn't going to be an Oscar movie. It's just they had to have known it's going to be a good, bad movie, and that's what's going to keep it going.
Yeah, some of these movies, they know that, and then at the time, like Cinemax and HBO and Showtime were starting to become like, channels that people get on their cable systems. They need entertainment. They need something to show.
Something that people watch continuously in rotation.
Yeah, so they can take Opportunity Knocks and they put it out at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, and then it airs again Friday morning at 3, and then it airs Saturday afternoon again, and they fill it in whenever they need, they need a movie for that time slot. It's one of those movies where, like I said last week with Heartbreakers, if it's on, you're not going to be watching a horrible film, but if you had to choose...
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's a good one to put on like that, because you're going to get people that would be like, oh, well, this was just on last night. I watched it last night. But even though I know what happened, I don't mind turning off my brain, just watching it again just to fill time. This is a good example of that type of movie.